I don't know whether I can talk about this.
It's juicy.
We absolutely pride ourselves on working with someone to achieve like their ultimate result.
Yeah.
Like sort of that sweet spot between like ultimate desire and budget. And that was sort of the beginning of R&R really. What is going on here is like some Hansel and Gretel shit going on.
Handing out candies.
Yeah.
Welcome.
It's like, shit. Morning, boys. Like, oh, hi, get away. He lived in the woods out the back of her house and just like plugged himself into her house. I was like, I don't even think she knows that you exist. Stay away from my wife. I'm going to say it anyway.
Just get it out there. Give the people what they want.
Oh, yeah, basically, yeah.
Welcome to the Fischer podcast. I'm here with Leo and Tom from R&R Building Renovations. Can you guys give me, basically a quick intro and what is R&R Buildings?
Of course.
Absolutely.
I'm Leo.
Okay. I'm Tom.
And together we are R&R Building Renovations.
It's a good start.
School project.
Yeah.
We're a building company from Kent and we build anything you want from conception all the way through to painting, basically, don't we?
Try and avoid the painting now.
Trying to avoid the painting.
We're good at it, but not as efficient as others. So
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah.
How did you both get into construction?
Go on, you
Shall
go.
I? Shall I? Right. So it's one of those things. Not to start rambling already, but it's one of those things where I kind of knew I was going to go into it. My dad was a builder, not anymore, but was, and it's kind of what I knew. I always, it's always spending time with my granddad doing things as such, fixing things and making things. And kind of got pushed into it with work experience at school. We all signed up to a program of work experience like you do, and I got put with a carpentry firm for 2 weeks, doing site carpentry and a bit of workshop joinery. Not too much of that, but a little bit. And then after that, I sort of got the taste for it because I got paid. Basically, ultimately, and no one else, to my knowledge, in the year got paid for it.
Nice.
So that was just a bit of a motivator for me. I was like, great, I'm just working hard and you get paid for it. And they ended up taking me on in half terms. So whenever my half term come along at school, you get your week or two off, I would go and work and earn a little bit of pocket money, which I think. It wasn't very much, but
It was back then.
For me, I felt like a millionaire.
Yeah.
That was my nudge into it. I think I tried to go into something else when I was at school. I sort of tried my hand at maybe thinking I could possibly be an engineer or something. Wasn't really smart enough for that. So got a job with my mate's dad's carpentry firm as soon as I left school, pretty much. And that was my introduction really, and then sort of bounced between the trades. And come to sort of know a bit of everything. And here we are. Yeah.
Nice.
Please, Leo.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. So my dad was a builder, and so grew up around building, and always went and sort of helped him out, doing different bits and bobs on weekends. And I've got pictures of me on different job sites as I was sort of growing up, and. But he never wanted me to go into it, really. He sort of always tried to steer me in other directions and sort of put me off doing it, really, just because didn't want me to sort of break myself. But that's all I ever really wanted to do. But after I left school, I sort of bumbled around and did a couple of sort of, silly little jobs here and there. And then I thought to myself, I need to go and get a proper job. So I went and worked in a bank.
A proper job.
A proper job. Go and get a proper job, Leo. So, I worked in a bank. I was there for all of 2 days. And I hated it so much. It was awful. I was like, why am I here with all these lemons? And so sorry to anyone that works in a bank. And but it's hell. And so I was just like, I'm sick. I'm not coming back in. And at the time, I lived with my dad. And he was like, right, you've got the weekend to find yourself a job. And if you don't find one by Monday, you're coming to work with me. And I was like, okay then. So I just sat down and did nothing for the weekend, and Monday morning jumped in the van and off I went, and that was it. That was it.
Nice.
Monday morning laying block paving.
And
Was that
then,
the first job, was it?
Yeah.
Nice.
No, actually, no, I've just lied. It wasn't block paving. That was in the first week. The first job was watching someone put up guttering.
Listen,
I was like,
it's all God's work.
it wasn't exactly graft, but I was like just needed an in.
Yeah.
And they were like, just watch me do this and then you can have a go. I was like, okay then. You know what I mean? And then that was like, it was too easy. Day one was too easy. Then day two was block paving. And day three, I couldn't get out of bed. I was like, actually done. It's like, come back to me, bank.
so then how did you two meet?
Through a friend.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, through a friend.
It sounds like we're talking about a date or something.
Yeah. Mutual friend, blind date. So yeah, I had a little building firm years ago, and had someone work for me. His name's Jake, and he said to me, actually, I need to take it back a tiny little bit more. Jake's mum, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Jake's mum cut my mum's hair, right? And I was around there one time while my mum was getting a little haircut situation, and Jake's mum was talking about Jake and was going, "Oh, give him a chance. Like, yeah, I've heard you need a labourer. Like, he's got a heart of gold. He'd be an asset to you." So I was like, "All right, give him a go." And then she started telling me about Jake's mate Tom. Excuse me. She was like, "This guy." She was like, "Oh, he's a lovely guy, but like Jake's a bit sort of clumsy, but Tom's awful. Tom's so clumsy. And when you get them in a room together, it's carnage. You got to avoid that at all costs." Anyway, forgot about that conversation. Met Jake, took Jake on. That was fine. Had him for a year or two, and then he was like, "Oh, my mate Tom's looking for a job." I was like, "Oh, like get him along. We'll have a little chat." So along came Tom. Rode his motorbike along to the job site in the snow, didn't you? Like an absolute lunatic.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
That's why you're clumsy then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Didn't die on the way in somehow.
Yeah.
But I'd forgotten about this conversation about like, don't have Jake and Tom in the same room, otherwise everything's going to end terribly. And then Tom came in and we had a chat and I took him on. And then it wasn't till about a month later. And then all of a sudden I was recalling this conversation. I was like, oh no, I've done it.
Moment,
Jake and Tom. But yeah. It was all right, and that's how we first met, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was great.
That was it. That was it.
Didn't look back. Even Jake said, he was like, "Oh, you two are going to hit off straight away. I'm going to be ousted, and it's going to be you two like moving forward." I was like, "No, never, Jake."
But no,
look
not
what's
that he ever got
happened.
ousted, but it just
Sorry,
worked
Jake.
that way,
Yeah.
didn't it?
Sorry,
Poor
mate.
old Jake.
Poor old Jake.
Sorry, mate. I literally went for a beer with him at the weekend.
Oh no, how is he? Is he all right?
He's great. He's doing really well.
Is he over it?
He's doing better than us. He's doing like we're doing well, but he's doing better than us. You know, like,
Good old Jake.
yeah.
So is that how R&R started then?
Oh no, there's a few more. There's a few more.
gosh, okay,
There's a
sorry.
few more like ups and downs before then.
Oh yeah, there's so many ups and downs.
Would you like us to go into that?
If you want,
It's pretty good.
Yeah, go for it.
It's juicy.
It's juicy. You're perfect
It's a
then.
little bit juicy.
Yeah. So I had a building firm, and Tom worked for me. And then we took on a project where we were renovating a house and doing an extension for the same client. They had a civil engineering firm. At the time, I was a bit stressed out with work, as I'm sure many people in our position, find. It's a stressful position to be in. I was running it by myself, and I think I was sort of trying to run before I could walk, really. And this guy came to me one day and just offered me a job. Like employed situation, was just like, I'm looking for someone to take on this particular role in my firm. I think you'd be a good fit. Would you be interested? And basically we had a to and fro. I told him what I'd want to sort of make that happen. We came to an agreement, and it was an offer that I couldn't really refuse. So at that time in my life, and so then,
Can I interject?
yeah,
Leo sacked me. So, well, he sacked all of us.
yeah, sorry,
Of which there was 3 or 4 of us at the time, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 of us.
sorry, mate.
That's all right. It happens, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And at the pub. He sacked us at the pub.
Tom couldn't go in a pub for like a year after this.
straight
He's just
up.
got PTSD.
Yeah,
Like every time we went near a pub, he's like, no.
Yeah, so he was like, yeah, we'll go to the pub after work. And like this was a big thing. We didn't really go to the pub after work normally, because we were, Leo's busy with home life and we're doing whatever. So I was like, oh, this is good. This is great. So we go to the pub. I'm like, I'll get the biz.
I was like, no, please let me get the biz, Tom.
I'll get the
Please
biz.
let me get the
biz.
biz.
So I get the biz, sit down, see my uncle also in the pub, which I hadn't seen in ages at this point, doesn't even live anywhere near it. And he asked how it's going. I was like, couldn't be busier. Couldn't
Works
be busier.
brilliant.
It works brilliant. I love the guys I work with, and we're so busy. Fast forward 30 seconds later, we sat down at the table and Leo sacked us. Crying into my beard. That was it after that. But in all fairness to the whole situation, the man that gave Leo the job also offered to take us all on.
He did.
So it wasn't
nice.
like, oh, right, you're sacked, see you later, you're in the street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which then eventually happened.
So, which did actually happen. Yeah, it took about 6 months. I think it was about 6 months, wasn't it?
Yeah, was you?
Yeah, 6 months. I said no at first because it wasn't really what I wanted to do, not the sort of direction I wanted to go in. Worked for another builder that we worked closely with at the time.
Yeah.
And then sort of got to the point where they offered me, a decent deal and that they were actually going to go into construction, not just the civil engineering aspect of it, which was delayed. When I think it was supposed to be 6 weeks on the road. Next thing you know, you were sort of like tarmacking for about a year and a half.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But it's another string to your bow, and we now sort of know the groundworks of things pretty well.
Yeah.
But
then, so then we went on and started the construction element for that company.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was site manager. That was my role. And Tom was essentially like my right-hand man, sort of telehandler. I was on the ground. It was a weird situation.
It was a different jump for me, I'd say.
Likewise.
Yeah, because not that I was involved in actually organising things, but I'd say I had a bit more responsibility, didn't I?
Definitely.
At that point. And
Definitely.
so it was just interesting route to take.
So we worked together on that, and then through COVID, he ended up closing that company down.
Wow.
We were made redundant, and then we were sort of in a position where we didn't have to rush into anything, but being that we'd worked in construction for a long while and worked together for a long time as well, we sort of said, we've got an opportunity now to make something of this. So what direction do we go in? Do we want to carry on working together?
And
Yeah.
And the answer was let's do it. But let's just take it easy and not stress ourselves out, not run before we can walk, not take loads of people on. Just take it easy basically. And that was sort of the beginning of R&R really. So it's just the two of us essentially, and we have a small team of subcontractors that we use all the time, or a lot of the time on projects that require them. So we know like what our product is, we stand by our product, we know what our service is, we know what our limitations are, so we never overstretch ourselves.
Exactly. Worked with each other for long enough to know what we can and can't do.
Exactly.
Together.
So what can and can't you do? You both do?
What, as in personally, or like as in
like the
company?
The company, yeah.
We can, like, if you want a house built, we'll build you a house. We can
Right.
we
turnkey service for a house.
So like you know the plumbing, electrics, all of that sort of stuff.
So we have essentially the skill set that we have in house is quite extensive. So between Tom and I, we can cover off groundworks, we can cover off a lot of carpentry stuff, first and second fix. I started my life, my working life as an electrician, so I've did my full apprenticeship. So we've got that covered. But again, as I said, we've got sort of a small team of subcontractors that deal with anything that we can't. So
anything needs certifying, things like that,
heating side of things, roofing side of things, anything like that. But we've got a nice architectural firm that we work with as well. So again, conception, like design stage, planning applications, all of that we deal with, and then all the way through the whole project basically. But
engineering too.
Yeah.
Work with a great engineer, don't we?
It's not Jake, is it?
No.
Oh, Jake. But we work with him a lot, don't we? And do a lot of good. He's great to work with.
Yeah, definitely.
Just turn stuff out pretty quickly from it.
Yeah.
It must have really kicked off though in COVID, because I know a load of people were doing like bits and pieces and things like that. Was it busy straight away for you guys?
It was a weird one because
it was a tail end of it, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was a tail end of
COVID for us.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Yeah, so like in the thick of COVID is when we were doing new builds.
Yeah.
And we only stopped for a week, didn't we?
Yeah, 1 week. Yeah, and then cracked on.
We
sort of devised a safe way of working. But COVID was a bit of a weird one because then after that we went and did my house, didn't we? We built an extension and a new little house there.
Yep.
And then so we were just kind of working. It was just the two of us, like building.
We had plenty of time to talk, plenty of time to think.
Just time to figure out what we were going to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you find it's like word of mouth to get work? Or
Yes.
did you with your social channels you were still putting out stuff, and then that's how people contacted you?
So mostly word of mouth to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much
and,
so.
and I'd say still mostly now.
Yeah.
But now it's now we're actually we have that advantage where we're getting a few more avenues in
Yeah.
through Leo's hard work in the social media platforms.
Yeah, it's not hard work. It's just me
great.
messing about, bursting in rooms with my phone, telling
Yeah.
him to say something
Tom, eat
funny.
this.
Yeah, Tom, eat this. Yeah, basically that's it. Just chasing him around with cake and things. But yeah, that's only just started trickling in, really, hasn't it? Sort of like social media side of things. Like we've had a few inquiries through that, haven't we? Which has been strange, but yeah,
Very strange,
good,
yeah, but good.
welcoming it.
Because
Yeah.
you go around someone's house where you normally get like, oh my, brothers come recommended you, and I'd like you to do some work in the house. People are going, hi, we've seen you on TikTok. Can we have a
Right.
kitchen?
That's weird.
Yeah,
What
I
are
guess.
some of the craziest requests, like client requests that you've had then?
Stay away from my wife.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I can talk about this.
Well, this is pre R&R.
This was pre R&R. Yeah, we did. I did a job. So when I worked for my dad, it's funny. We were talking about this earlier. We haven't had many weird client requests ourselves.
Yeah, we've been pretty lucky
with
Yeah.
R&R,
We've been pretty lucky,
but yeah, there was one where and I'm going to say it anyway.
Just get it out there. Give the people what they want.
Oh yeah, basically, we started on this job. I'm not even going to tell you what the job was, and the guy, we'd been building up to actually starting there for quite a while. We were going to be there for a number of weeks, and his wife worked from home, and he sort of pulled us all, the whole team pulled us all to one side at the beginning of the job. Was like, listen, guys, I'd appreciate if you just sort of gave the wife a wide berth, just leave her to her own thing. She's got a bit of a thing with men being about and this, that, and the other. And we were like, oh, okay, that's, you don't need to, that's fine. Don't say no more. There was a bit of a weird
Well,
conversation.
like a kink, or like she just didn't like it.
No, I think
It was more nervousness, wasn't it?
Oh,
yeah, that's how it was kind of
sorry.
delivered.
Okay.
It was like, yeah, just she's a bit nervous around
Right.
around men, just kind of if you could just leave her to her own thing. And we were like, yeah, that's fine. You don't need to say that. We're not going to be bursting in her office. We're working in the garage. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was just a bit of a weird request, and we were all like, that's a strange thing, but obviously we're going to, honour that and make sure we do right by our clients, whatever you need us to do. Do you know what I mean? And then it just didn't align, because the next day she was in there morning boys, oh, hi, get away. I don't know how to deal with this. She was like, tea, anyone want tea? Yeah, thanks. And she was absolutely nice as pie. And it's just a whole confused building firm trying to get on with their work, and just
Real.
I don't know how to deal with this.
And this was years ago as well,
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
it?
it was, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. On top of a client request, I mean, aside from wacky ideas of design that's away from our opinion of something that's nice. Yeah, we've been pretty lucky. We don't have.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have anything I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you do a lot of house renovations, don't
course,
you?
yeah.
So do you have them come to you with the impossible plans, as in can you do this? And then you're like,
Oh yeah, we have actually had one of those with the garage conversion. It's a bit wants the office in the garage, but
yes.
haven't got the room to do it.
Yeah.
How do we do this? Yeah, it's just tricky, isn't it? When someone's like, "Oh, I want this in this space," and you're like, "Well, you haven't got the space."
well, do you try and
space doesn't
work
exist.
around it, or do you still?
Listen, we absolutely pride ourselves on working with someone to achieve their ultimate result.
Yeah.
Sort of that sweet spot between ultimate desire and budget. That's kind of where we try and marry those two things together. However, if you haven't got the actual physical space, we're like, what do you want us to do? Magic up some space. It doesn't work.
It's ultimately we could do anything.
Yeah.
To a budget, like you say, you can do anything.
Yeah.
We can make that garage 4 stories if you manage to get it from planning.
Yeah, exactly.
But
It's not
but
going to happen.
not gonna happen.
The other one I like is I've got some timber you can use. That's another weird request. I've got some timber you can use. I've got some tiles you can use.
Yeah.
I've got some old bricks that will probably do all right. How much is that going to save? That's a weird request always. It's just nothing. It's not going to save you anything. I've got to try and figure out how to jam this into a job somehow.
It ends up being completely cheaper just starting from scratch off the top.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So have you, and obviously with them asking for quite unusual requests, as in not for the woman from earlier, but if they've obviously asked for a certain space being developed, have you ever gone onto a site where they've they've had someone else start it and then realise that they haven't been able to do it and you've had to go on and fix it? Like, has there anything been like that?
We've had a couple of those where we're taking over from other builders, and there's always a bit of a, it's not necessarily the request, it's just the worry of why we're here. Like, why have the other people finished? Like, has there been a fallout? You have to kind of...
And it's a question you do have to ask.
You have to ask
You have
it.
to ask the
be
question.
upfront from the get-go. Like, this is a red flag. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on here? Has there been a fallout? Like, what's the situation? But
Yeah.
you kind of have to feel that out and then get an understanding of what the client's like. But yeah, it's just in terms of like requests.
Well, it's like, have you ever gone onto a job where it's done so badly and the reason why they've called you is because they need it fixed?
I think we've been pretty lucky with that.
We have been pretty lucky. I mean, we've been to houses where things have happened.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
for example, where we went round one not too long ago. It was it was in Leeds Village, wasn't it? Well, that's what I say, really. But yeah, so they had some builders round, and they had asked us to do a bathroom for them. Which of course we happily obliged to do a quote for, absolutely. And then we saw obviously they'd had an extensive amount of work done in this house. And then obviously that prompts us to ask the question of, you know, you've had a lot of work done here. It looks pretty good. You know, why aren't you calling them? But it transpired that they caused some absolute carnage while they were there, rectified it. But I think just put them off of their trust, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it'd been to the point where they had put an entire picture frame steel in. So you know, you're putting a steel at the top post and you've got a steel underneath to distribute the load. And they had propped it up on bricks and left it overnight. And the bricks actually crumbled.
Oh,
You know,
no.
that was the amount of weight it was under. And the back of the house collapsed.
Oh, no.
You know, it come down and they had to jack it all back up with God knows how many jacks and get it all helibarred in and fixed. So, you know, they completed the job in the end to what looked like a decent standard. But, yeah, so that was a bit of a nightmare. But, yeah, it's just understanding why. Why someone else has done some work there and why they're not coming back.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of like rectifying something, though, I think we've been quite lucky haven't really had to pick up after anyone, really. I don't think.
No. I mean, we see some pretty shocking DIY.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been quite a few of those, haven't there? Where we're in doing a specific job for someone. We're like, why aren't we fixing that over there? Because you've clearly had a go at that yourself, and that is all like, builders have been in and done that, and that is like shocking.
Yeah, and you're marrying up new, good professional work to, you know, what is that?
Yeah. What kind of stuff have you seen?
Oh, joinery's the one, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, when you see like
people trying to tackle carpentry themselves.
Yeah,
you know, it's something that you can
Any second
complete.
fix
Anyone
stuff.
can complete some second fix carpentry, I think, themselves. But to what standard?
yeah, that's the difference. Like,
Is the big difference.
yeah, doors hung the wrong way. Like with all the paneling up the wrong way.
Yeah. We went into a house the other day for a good friend of ours, our lovely heating engineer.
Yeah,
And every single door had been hung upside down.
yeah.
Every single door.
So
They haven't just done it once.
But then
They've got
we're not there to rectify that. And you're like, why aren't we? What can we? Please, can we sort this out for you? Because this is awful. Like, what's going on? Yeah,
you do come across it.
yeah.
Have you heard like horror stories of like nightmares and stuff that like people that you know have seen on site or like renovations and stuff?
Ooh. Oh, what did we talk about? What did we think about this earlier?
I mean, we've got a friend who's been through a fair few of them, haven't we?
Oh,
He's been through the old the meat grinder with a few of them, hasn't he? But it's like nothing we could really, you know.
I was going to say there was. What was the question again?
So like, do you know anyone who has seen like nightmares on site
we
or like
actually,
renovations? Sorry,
we actually we were involved in a bit of a nightmare job. The extension that went up and down a few times.
Oh, that's a great point.
That's a great one.
That's
isn't
a
it?
great one. Yeah.
So when
we can divulge on this.
Yeah,
of course we can divulge on this.
when we worked for that firm, while we were waiting for a development to come off for us to go on to, there was a few smaller jobs knocking around that got sort of pushed our way to manage.
Yep.
And
so is this on new builds?
so
No, this was a two-story extension, wasn't it?
Yes, this
So
is why
big
we
job.
were waiting for the new build site to come off. There was like a few little jobs knocking around that pushed our way to look after, basically. And so I was managing a particular site, and I was given a gang of bricklayers. It was it wasn't my decision to have this particular gang.
A gang of subpar bricklayers.
I was like, obviously I've been doing this a long time, and I know who I like to work with. I've got, people that I would always call on, but then because it wasn't my call to make, I was working for someone when we were on this firm. They were like, no, you're using these guys. I was like, oh, okay. And
Here you go, boys.
So we started building this extension, and I was like, I don't know if these guys know what they're doing, and I can only manage them so far without like physically laying the bricks myself, which would just be awful. No one wants that.
Was this why you called them a gang?
Yeah, no, yeah. And so then they came on, and it was just so painful. They straight away, they set up on the driveway and they smothered next door's car in muck from the mixer. And I was like, okay, right, so now I've got to go and sort that out. So try to smooth all that over with next door.
Half the job's getting the neighbours on side as well.
Yeah,
and then that was just that.
You've got to try and work with the people that you've got, in your immediate surroundings to make your life as easy as possible.
It makes your life well easy, doesn't it?
Exactly. So that was straight out the gate that happened. Then we dealt with all the oversight. All of the damp-proof membrane was in. And it rained, it filled up with water, and I came in one morning just to check on progress, and they were cutting the damp-proof membrane to let all the water out. I was like, what are you guys doing? That is to stop the water coming in. Yeah. What are you doing? They're like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. I was like, oh, these guys really don't know what they're doing. So now I had to baby step them through the process of building the extension, and no matter how many times I went back to sort of my superior and said, this can't happen. It was sort of it was just put to me that this is what you've got to work with, sort of thing. And I wasn't in the position to call any shots, so I was like, okay, we'll just plough on. And the extension went up. I think we got to just sort of up to.
It was up to the first plate, wasn't it?
Yeah,
not first plate. What one about?
Yeah, the first lift.
Yeah.
And then the client just wasn't happy with the quality of the brickwork, so we had to take it down and start again. So the whole extension came down, and then it went back up again to the first lift. It's incredibly embarrassing when you're being put into a position like that, and you're trying to tread a bit of a line because you want to do right by the client. You work for someone, so you've got their interest.
You have to stick up for them too.
Yeah,
at the same time. So they've
also
still got some trust
that it's not right. So, but we ended up taking it down because I'm looking at it going, well, this isn't right. So we took it down, put it back up. And then it got to the point where I had a holiday booked. So I was going away on holiday, and then my manager took over managing it. And the guy was just like this bullish idiot. I did not like him. We didn't get on at all. But you couldn't tell him anything. He basically his word was final. He knew what he was doing, and that was it. So tried to sort of hand the job over in a way. I went away on holiday, and when I came back a couple of weeks later, it was up to plate height. So it was all the lifts of brickwork were in. It was where it needed to be. And I was looking at it, and above all of the windows, I couldn't see any weep holes. And I was like, oh, this doesn't look good. So it's are there weep holes in there? What's going on? He was like, what's a weep hole? I was like,
here we go.
Oh no.
I said, is there any tray damp above the lintel? He was like, what's a tray damp? I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is just impossible. It was so painful. It put me in a real awkward position. Then it all had to come down again.
Oh no.
So it all came down again, and then all went back because the client still wasn't happy with the actual quality of the brickwork. And it was just one of those jobs that just went on and on and on. You just felt like you were...
I recall one soldier course being redone 3 times.
Oh yeah, above the window, just where they were
3 times, possibly even 4 by the time the next lot. Well, that's another story. That's another story onto it.
Oh yeah, because then we ended up getting another gang.
Ended up having to get the original gang.
Yeah.
That actually quoted to do it before these lot.
Yeah. They actually came in and put it right in the end.
They came right and put it right. Yeah.
It was all fine in the end. Everyone was happy. Everyone walked away happy. But it was just one of those where it just felt like it was going to go on forever, and it was just never going to end. Put us in a really awkward position. It just wasn't.
Yeah,
wasn't
and
nice,
also
was
a friend of ours, isn't it? Because it was the actual extension was for a job through a friend of ours who we worked with quite closely, who I've actually worked for in the past. And it was really close to his house as well.
Yeah,
so it really kind of put his actual local reputation on the line when it wasn't his fault, it wasn't our fault.
Yeah.
It was just the wrong man for the job that we got put with.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
So how long was it supposed to take?
Oh, it was only supposed to be a couple of weeks just to get the brickwork up. Not even that, I don't think.
How long did it end up taking?
Months and months. It was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful. Really, really awful. But like, this was way before R&R. This is when we worked for another company. But it was, it was us together. But you're just like, we just kept looking at each other like, how are we in this position?
Yeah,
like, and you
yeah.
can't, your hands are tied. You just can't do
Yeah.
anything about it. So that was all good. That was a nightmare
Do you
job.
think that's the worst one? Or-
That we've been involved in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we've
Yeah.
dealt with together. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd say
'cause
so.
At this point in that firm, I think I was only really labouring in that point anyway.
Yeah.
To be fair, but at the point I was kind of clued up, you know what I mean, and watching it, I was just like, but you know, I couldn't say anything at this point. It was like,
No, and anything I said, I was just told to shut up and get on with it. I
yeah,
was
so
like,
it was just brutal. Yeah,
yeah, it was savage, wasn't it? I've just thought of another really bad one I was on.
Oh yeah, go on. We'll do another.
Was I
bad
here
one.
or not?
No, this was pre-R&R.
Pre-R&R.
This is in my youth when I was a humble electrician.
In the 70s.
It wasn't with Steve.
In the 70s.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
I was a humble electrician, not in the 70s. I was born in 1985, thank you very much. And we pulled up to the job and we weren't aware that we had arrived at the job because the house was so overgrown, like I couldn't even see the house. I was like, what is going on here? It's like some Hansel and Gretel shit going on. And we like mooched down the path and there was like eventually found our way in and there's this little old lady living there and
Who's
basically
handing out candies.
yeah
Welcome.
oh, shit. And yeah, so we were there to like rewire the house. Basically, like her brother and sister-in-law had moved down from London to help her deal with the house. She was very old and it had just fallen into disrepair, but like beyond what you could imagine. There was like about 50 chickens living in the kitchen. She had uncountable cats. Like it was ridiculous. It was like a menagerie going on in there. She had like a half dead dog. It was like she hadn't had running water for over a decade. She used to get water out of the well in the garden. And at one point I was like trying to figure out where all the circuits went. I was following this cable like on a bit of catenary wire just into the woods. I was like, where's this go? Like following it along. And then it like led to a caravan with a tarpaulin draped over it. And this like old fella like kind of fell out of the caravan, just like, hello. It's like, what's going on here? And he was like, he lived in the woods out the back of her house and just like plugged himself into her house. I was like, I don't even think she knows that you exist. He was out there welding. And I was like, what are you doing? It was so weird. So like she didn't even know she had a basement until I was up a stepladder and the foot of my steps fell through, like broke through a rotten floorboard. And I was like, what's going on down here? And the whole cellar was filled with water, like completely filled with water. It was just the most bizarre job. It was disgusting.
Was that a well?
Like, sorry?
Was that a well?
Yeah, that's where she was getting her water from.
Buckets out of the basement.
Yeah, it's just a puddle. Stop drinking it. Yeah, it was so bizarre. At one point, but at one point in time, the house had been thatched and then retiled, and they just pushed all the thatch into the loft. So the whole loft was just full of straw. It just was alive with little animals. It was awful. It was absolutely disgusting. Like I felt bad for the old lady, but like it stank like just where everything was just rotten. The dog was pissing all over everything. Like it was just disgusting. Like we had like tool bags, and at the end of it, we just had to throw all our tool bags away because we were like, oh, it's just too much. It was too much.
What was the job?
Oh, rewiring the house.
Oh.
So I was like crawling all through the loft. It was awful. And because I was like the youngster at the time, it was just, I was just set to all of the shit jobs. It was just not a nice environment to be in. And like what I felt really bad because the old lady who owned the house, as I said, her brother and sister-in-law had moved down and they were obviously of sound mind and were trying to like deal with the whole thing. But you'd like walk up to the front door in the morning, you could hear them like arguing and her crying. And you'd be like, just give it a minute. Just wait outside the front door and then knock. And then she'd answer the door like, morning! Like, oh God. Like, it was just too much, a real assault on the senses. And then she'd come in with like a tray of coffee and toast. She'd like made toast. I'm like, I'm not eating the toast. I'm really sorry I'm not eating the toast. She's like, thank you. And we were like in the middle of the countryside. The guy I was working with was like, get rid of the toast. So I was like opening the sash windows, just frisbeeing toast out into the field next door. I was like, see you later, toast. I was like, I don't even know if that's Marmite. Too much, man. I felt bad for the old lady, but we were there to make her.
You got to put your health first, mate.
Exactly. This is it. I wasn't eating the toast. I wasn't drinking the coffee.
Yeah.
I'd been in that kitchen. I wasn't eating anything coming out of that kitchen.
No.
It was bad.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a nightmare job.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got animated. I feel very passionate about that.
No, that's all right. You don't need to apologise.
Thank you.
So obviously we've spoken about a couple of nightmare projects that you guys have been on. Like, what's like a job that is like been most satisfying?
So, this job was a labour of love, wasn't it?
It was a labour of love.
It was a labour of love. Like the job, it turned out to be lovely. for some wonderful clients.
Yeah.
Quite close to us.
Gabs in Ian.
Gabs in, shout out Gabs in.
Shout out, Gabs in Ian. Decent clients. Loads of cake.
Loads of cake.
okay.
She's absolutely
Lemon
fantastic. I
drizzle.
still remember the first one was salted caramel brownies.
Oh, it was, wasn't it?
Wow.
Then she bashed out a lemon drizzle.
Yeah.
What else did we
I
have?
can't remember after that.
Yeah.
But like,
Like a
they were a
full-blown
real...
cake.
Oh, like a big
Oh,
old
it was a
tray
tray,
bread
yeah, it was a tray,
situation.
yeah.
The whole tray. Just for us.
But when you sort of hear what we had to do, you'll understand why we needed that cake.
Cake was the least we could get out of that situation.
It fueled us.
Yeah.
So it was in a small old town kind of cul-de-sac, very classic sort
Like
of
terrace.
townhouse, terrace
Yeah.
townhouses. And the only access to the garden...
We were doing a rear extension.
Rear extension here, yeah. Only access to the garden is down the stairs, down like a tiny little flight of stone stairs through a tunnel. So there's a tunnel underneath two houses, and you kind of come in between the fence. So you come out there, so you have like a tiny little way that way.
Yeah,
and that
like
way.
right on the boundary. wasn't it?
Right on the boundary, yeah. So you've got no room to get anything round there, and you've got a tunnel to deal with.
Yeah.
Which was literally as tall as us, wasn't it? It was like 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
That was it. It was like, you could walk through there with your head like
Just scratching.
scratching it. I think the only reason Leo didn't scratch his head because he hasn't got any hair.
Oh, yeah.
My hair was like,
Yeah. I was getting grazed.
but it was outrageous. So obviously, as you can imagine now, we can't get a digger in the garden.
No. Everything that
can't
comes out has to come through the tunnel. Everything
through
that
the
goes
tunnel.
in goes through the tunnel.
Yeah. Only other option would have been through the house, which is obviously just carnage. You can't have that because the lady ran a nursery from a house.
Yeah.
So
my
that was
God.
it. We were outside, and you can't even put buckets on your shoulder.
Yeah, to walk
Obviously.
through the tunnel, which is like how you'd ordinarily do it.
So we had to do it with small buckets. Like obviously, normally you'd use a griller tub, a nice big bucket, tough. But we're using silly little pails,
Yeah.
like Jack and Jill or something. And just one on each hand. You're digging, and you've got
so
people running back and forth all day.
Yeah.
And then, because it's a tiny little cul-de-sac, no front garden or anything, you can't
stockpile
it. We had to have a trailer out the back, out there, trying to fight off the parking warden with a massive old trailer out there, filling that up. And, this went on, that was about a week hand dig, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was about a week straight of just hand digging in and out of the tunnel, getting our mates in to help us. We had a couple of, we actually had a labourer with us for the first time.
no, that was nice,
one
wasn't
for
it?
a little bit. That was interesting.
What a luxury.
That was my sister's ex-boyfriend.
He was nice, wasn't
he was
he?
interesting.
The Scottish yomper.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
he
don't
was.
know what
he was an interesting fella. At one point, stacked it down the stairs into the tunnel. Didn't he?
Yeah.
That was great.
That was good, wasn't it?
But yeah, so very hard job. Everything in and out through a tunnel.
Yeah.
Block and beam through the tunnel.
Yeah.
Anybody out there that's done block and beam can sympathise with us here.
Yeah, that was hard graft. That is like a heavy old job. And
Heavy.
then carrying everything like individually, like all the individual beams down a set of steps, through the tunnel, then up a set of steps.
Yeah.
It was
Big
horrible.
time. And then obviously every single brick had to go through there, every single block.
Yeah.
So
But-
what was the project?
It was a rear extension.
Yeah.
Oh, it was,
Rear
okay.
Yeah,
extension.
just a ground floor extension. But ultimately, I think what made it extra special was all that hard graft
Exactly.
for some really lovely people, and the actual end product was great.
It was banging, yeah.
It was
really nice,
it was a
really nice space.
Yeah,
Really
And they
opened up
love
the
it.
house a lot, didn't it?
yeah, they love it, and so like that was a really rewarding one, albeit that it was
Absolute
nearly
carnage.
ended us.
Yeah. I think I must have taken, I'd say, we took about 5 years off of each of our backs, that job.
I'd say so. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
But yeah, great job, great people,
Yeah.
just absolute, carnage.
Yeah.
Getting it done.
And
wasn't
a
it?
shit ton of cake.
Yeah, loads of cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, loads of cake.
I'd say the graft just offset the cake.
Exactly. I think if we'd eaten the amount of cake we had and
And not
didn't have to go
graft.
through the tunnel,
Yeah.
we would be obese by now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100%.
So you're not obese now?
Well,
Yeah.
a little bit.
I can't believe what's happening here. I can't believe this.
Slanderous.
Pure abuse.
But yeah. Yes, that was a good one.
That was a great job.
one.
I love that job.
We've had another good one as well recently. I don't know if you want us to go to another one or not.
Yeah, go for it.
I keep wanting to drink my drink. Another extension.
Yeah, nice
for another
extension.
close client of ours who
Yeah.
we do a lot of work for.
Yeah. Nice timber frame extension, didn't we? Timber
Lovely.
clad.
Yeah.
With all like black crystal style windows in it. Nice.
Yeah,
slate.
super
nice.
cool. Complete contrast from the house.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a seamless kind of, this is, now the extension matching bricks and things. Like this was a split off from the house.
Yeah.
Completely different,
Yeah.
bit funky, and it looked really cool.
Yeah, it looked really cool.
Didn't it? It looked really cool. It matched like their outside building, like their sort of outdoor sort of, yeah, they turned it into we turned it into sort of a holiday let, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we matched it in with that. It looked absolutely amazing.
I was really proud of that one.
Yeah,
Looked lovely.
Looked great. But yeah, the work to get it done was almost unforeseen.
Yeah.
There was a lot of extra work to go into it that potentially we could have maybe picked up on. But not, it wasn't a deal breaker at all. It was just a lot of work.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of challenges to overcome because we were working off an existing structure. It was
an old
conservatory that was really nicely designed, but poorly constructed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it'd fallen to bits.
Fallen to bits. Yeah. So when you're working with old and new, it's hard.
Yeah.
Anybody like who's working in our industry can kind of sympathise with that, I think.
Yeah.
And just trying to make that old structure really blend in with what we were doing was graft, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
We were even working with the existing floor, like we had to protect that the whole way.
Oh, wow.
Existing tiled floor. So, we're taking the whole building down and starting it fresh on a fresh floor.
On a finished floor, yeah.
With underfloor heating and the lot. So it's a hard job, hard job, but it looked great.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy them types of challenges then?
At the time, obviously, you're like, oh, this is, it's testing.
Yeah.
Isn't it? But afterwards, you're like 100% worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Always.
Yeah, we tend to end up with jobs that we're looking at one at the moment where the access is terrible. It's just a really hard, like similar to the tunnel situation. You've got to come across a few gardens to get to it. It's in a valley. There's a river. There's like just we tend to. I don't know actually whether you do, but I quite like those challenges. I think you appreciate them, but I will always be the one to go and look at it and then come back and be like, right, Tom, sit down, just hear me out, all right? So there's a river, a valley, 3 gardens to come across. And he's like, oh, God. But I quite like the challenge because ultimately there's a lot of building firms out there that will go and look at those jobs and just bin it off straight away because...
And we won't. We've never said no to a job that looks hard.
No, just because of access or something.
Exactly.
We'll always try and find a way around it.
Yeah.
We like working with people.
And I think since doing Gabs' extension, everything's been easy.
Everything's been easy. Yeah. Since the tunnel.
This is what we said the whole way through. We were like, every single job now
from here on
going
in.
to be easy.
Yeah. Nothing's going to be as hard as the tunnel. Yeah, that was a tricky old one, wasn't it?
It was brutal.
Do you have any advice for people to avoid their own construction nightmares?
Ooh.
I think people, as in sort of people embarking on having construction work done as such, or
both ways.
Okay, well, for that, I'd say get a builder involved from the get go in terms of. I think there's a lot of people out there that try and cut out that sort of organisational role that a building firm brings to the table, but in trying, with the view to sort of saving a bit of money, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that can do that, turn their hand to that. But I've been in positions before where the client kind of takes on that role and it all just goes to shit pretty quick, whereby you're bringing people in at the wrong stages, you're ordering materials, like the wrong materials, wrong quantities, not liaising with building control, not liaising with the architects. Like there's the role of sort of like a principal contractor or if you're a smaller concern, the builder, the main contractor in that instance, like that is actually an important role. And I think it gets overlooked a lot. I'd say always consider, actually having a building firm carry out your project for you rather than trying to bin them off and deal with all of the individual subcontractors yourself.
Yeah.
Definitely that.
Absolutely.
Like you think you're saving money, but actually in the long run, it will just cost you money.
Yeah.
I can imagine a lot of people think, where do they even start? Like, who do they even start to talk to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we come
Absolutely.
up against that a lot. Like people come to us and sort of say, come to us and say, we don't actually really know where we're beginning with this whole situation. Like, can you help us? And sometimes they don't even realise quite the extent of what we can help them with. They almost don't realise how much we can actually deal with for them. So, it's nice to be able to say, tell me where you're at and we can tell you how much or how little we can do for you, So, I should imagine it is quite difficult if you've never embarked on any building project before,
Yeah.
to know where where to start. I think that'd be quite difficult for some people.
So ultimately there's, I guess, a couple of avenues, isn't there? Sometimes we'll go to our lovely architect and say, these customers want this, this and this, and maybe you can meet them and see what they want. And then sometimes it's the other way around, where they go speak to the architect and, they come and speak to us. So there's a few different ways you can do it, but, it's just how you actually, approaching it with the respect it deserves. Basically.
And then what about from like your side? You've done it from like the client side. What about your side?
So, what was the question again? Sorry.
Like how do you avoid your own nightmares, construction nightmares?
I think
I can imagine it's like to do a lot with your relationship. Like like the way that you work is obviously like it works for you guys, and that's how you avoid your own nightmares. But
absolutely. I think obviously we've got a good understanding of how each other works. We keep a consistent team around us. I think if you're at the point where you're going, oh shit, we need a plasterer tomorrow, and then you're just phoning anyone, you can't back your work. You can't back the end result. Like you're not going to turn out a consistent product.
It makes you look silly.
Yeah.
So I think having a good solid team around you is a massive.
And that's what's really helped us. Actually. It's really helped us. We have like you said before, we have one plasterer, one heating engineer, one bricklayer. And we just make sure we call them in due course, with enough time to get them booked in.
That was going to be my next point, like forward planning, just making sure that you're making sure you get everything booked in a timely fashion in terms of any like trades or labour that you're going to need. Make sure you get your right materials on time.
Because it's happened to all of us.
Of course.
You drop the ball every now and then and think, oh, bollocks, we haven't actually got the plasterer booked for this week coming. And then ultimately it delays the job and, you do lose from it.
Like an idiot.
Like an idiot.
And you just don't put it on your social channels and you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And it does happen, but we've learned from that before.
100%.
So, and now it doesn't happen at all,
So where do you see like R&R now? Like what's the future?
I think ultimately we're at a bit of a pinch point where we need to grow a little bit. We could definitely do with one or two people on board with us. Like ultimately we wanted it to be the two of us for as long as possible. But I think where we're at, to enable us to work more efficiently and to actually sort of provide the level of service that we want to be able to provide, I think we need that flexibility that would come with having another one person for sure.
I think before that would have been a stress for us, having somebody. Where it is now a stress to not have somebody.
Which is a lovely position to be in. Like, we've got plenty of work on, which is great. So, it's a nice stress to have. So I think having someone on board would be great. But in terms of like growing any further, I don't neither of us ever want to necessarily have like a massive building firm. That's not really
we didn't go out with that plan at all, did we? But we don't know where the avenues are taking. At the moment, the avenues are taking us places where we haven't actually thought we would come to.
No,
like being here, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't set out and think, we want to go and be on podcasts.
Podcast.
On podcasts. But, we've been presented with these opportunities and it's great.
Yeah, exactly.
And, having that extra person just gives us more time to be able to do some other things that we'd like to see.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, exploring other avenues is fun as well. Yeah.
And
exactly what you're saying.
And like not running before we can walk. We've gotten this far. Getting one person would be a great start, and we never know how it goes in the future.
And that doesn't sound like a massive step, but having the responsibility of someone else, like not just for us, but being responsible for someone and making sure that we can provide them with enough work and we've worked for our fair share of tits. Do you know what I mean? Like, and ultimately, ultimately, we don't want to be that person that someone works for. Yeah, basically, we don't want to be tits. Is what Tom is saying.
We've worked with plenty of people where we don't like working for.
Yeah,
and if we were going to take someone on with that responsibility, I'd actually want to be a good employer.
Yeah,
and respected, and not like, I don't want to go into work today because he's a knobhead.
Yeah.
Because you don't get the best out of people like that.
No, of course you don't.
Because you just don't.
Just hire the gang.
No. Oh, I had to fire one of them. I'm good at firing people. I had to fire one of them. He was just being a right knobhead. And my supervisor was like, "You got to fire him." I was like, "Okay,
easy.
Okay, leave it to me." I fired my best mate.
I'll fire anybody.
It's easy now.
Yeah, no one's safe.
Yeah. So what kind of projects, any exciting projects coming up?
Yeah, we've got a couple in the pipeline, actually. We've got a little barn conversion coming up in a couple of weeks, haven't we?
That'd be exciting. Yeah, really nice. Old. Don't know how old, but very old.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Really old.
So that's nice.
We've got another couple of bits coming up for the castle, which is always fun. We always really enjoy those.
Yes.
Always a different challenge there.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to turn up to look at. They say, can you come and price X, Y, and Z for us?
Yeah.
And
things you've never heard of before.
Yeah. And you can turn up to be renovating one of their, countless properties that they actually own around it. So just a normal 3-bed, semi-detached house. Or you can be turning up to a, the castle itself.
Yeah.
We need this 200-year-old bedroom renovated, and you're like, whoa. It's always just a nice treat to see what we're going to do there.
Yeah, so we've got some bits for them. We've got an extension coming up in the new year, which would be nice.
Yep.
Put a lot of work into that. And potentially a nice little loft conversion as well. Still working on that.
Yeah,
I'd
still
like to
working
get that
on
one
that.
though, because it looks to be
Looks
a really
really
nice
good.
one. Yeah.
Really nice area.
Yeah.
Decent
sort of-
access for once.
Yeah.
It sounds like you don't get a lot of them.
No.
But we've also got a garage conversion coming up as well.
Garage conversion. That's just
Okay.
before
That's
Christmas.
Nice
Yeah.
one. Yeah, that's a nice one to get in there.
Yes, we've got some nice bits coming up.
Yeah, sounds it.
Yeah.
So what's a piece of advice that you'd give someone that would like to get into the construction industry?
Ooh. So we had a little chat about this on the way here.
Turn up.
Turn up on time.
On time.
If you're just starting, just delete everything else you need to do.
Yeah.
In a way. Like, I know that sounds really kind of harsh, but if it's just an awful red flag for an employer if you can't even get out of bed and turn up on time.
Yeah. Like a very base level. And even that, like, you should be like, wow, this person can actually do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is great. They're here when they said they were going to be here. Yeah. Sorry, they're here when I told them to be here.
So that's a really good one.
Turn up on time.
Do your driving license as quick as possible.
Oh, mate, drive. Yeah, assuming this person's a young person.
Yeah, a young person
going to come in at like labouring level.
Yeah.
Like,
because
I
didn't.
You didn't.
I didn't.
It was a pain in the arse, wasn't it?
Made my life hard.
Yeah.
I was riding a motorbike to work for way too long. Years. Other jobs I would be walking to, bus to, grab lifts to, and
you just look like an idiot.
You look like an idiot. Always get there on time. I'd get there come like rain or shine, but it made my life hard. I should have just done my driving quicker, like just got it out of the way, and not spent it on stupid stuff.
But I think
so basically have a driving license.
Yeah. Sorry, just to conclude.
Sorry, I got a little bit
Driving
emotional
licence.
there. Passionate. I realised my past mistakes.
You okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Can we get some tissues?
Yeah. Turn up on time. Drive there yourself if you can, and listen. Just listen. Listen to what's being told to you. Listen to what someone's trying to teach you, because then ultimately you can start thinking for yourself and like getting ahead of the game. So when the job that you're doing over and over again with the person that's teaching you something, this next step he's going to want his circular saw. You've got it ready, and like that is worth so much. Like, that is
shows
so valuable.
a huge amount of willing.
Yeah.
Just gives you the confidence in the person himself.
Definitely. Yeah, that's what I'd say. Just show up and listen.
Up, show willing, listen.
Yeah,
And have a driving license.
and have a driving license.
Yeah.
Like Tom didn't.
Yeah.
Just do what you did.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
So before we finished the podcast, I could, knowing that you were coming today, obviously I couldn't not provide cakes. So
What?
yeah, could you go grab some cakes? They're in the meeting room.
Are you kidding me? You
What a sweet surprise.
I can't believe this. We were talking about this earlier, and you were acting
No,
all
you
innocent.
didn't.
I know.
You didn't crack. It's
No, I
ridiculous.
know,
You're
I
like,
know.
oh really? I
Yeah.
didn't even know.
Oh, really? You guys like cake?
At least
can't
it's not like a cold burger
No.
or anything like that. So it's actually good cupcakes.
I just assumed that you just didn't know anything
No,
about
I was
us.
really tempted to bring it up then that we were going to bring some in later, but I thought, you know what, it's got to be a good surprise at the
That's
end.
so good. I love
that
this.
was like poker face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's decent.
Yeah, because this is my poker face. It's actually been a really shit episode. I'm joking.
I'm feeling nothing.
No, we're not getting invited back. You're like, actually, if you don't take any Fischer stuff. That'd be really good because we don't want to see it.
You
on
don't
the
deserve
this
it
isn't
anymore.
getting aired.
I can't believe this.
Oh, bloody hell.
Jesus.
They're
What's
in,
in
you know
there?
it's fancy when they're in cardboard boxes.
What is going on here?
So there's some Nutella ones.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Oreo and caramel. Which
Oh,
one did you want?
Oh my God.
Oh, that's got a Ferrero Rocher in it.
Oh my good Lord.
I'm
I'm having a
an
Ferrero
Oreo
Rocher
one, I
one.
think.
Oh God, I just hit this
If
microphone.
all right, I'll try one of these ones then. We can give our verdicts then, can't we?
Are you going to
Yeah.
get cross if we get chocolate on these microphones? They look kind of expensive.
I was going to say, I'm nearly eating the microphone trying to get round it.
Tom, I can't get into it. How did you do that?
I don't know, it was just complete
Just
luck.
flip it out. There you go. Just flip it.
Oh, thank you. I was really panicking then. Oh my God, these are amazing.
Boy,
Thank you.
this is outrageous.
Legendary. Do we cheers the cake? Are we going to cheers the
Yeah,
cake? I
it's
think
gotta
it'd
be
be
done,
rude if we
innit?
didn't cheers the cake.
Well,
Let's see.
cheers,
Let me
guys.
try.
Cheers. Thank you so much for
Cheers
having
all.
us. We really appreciate it.
How we finish the Fischer podcast, we'd love for you to tell us a joke.
Oh,
All right.
So if you've got a joke.
here we go. Can I try this first?
Yeah.
Oh,
Knock, knock.
Who's that?
Interrupting cow.
Inter-
Moo! What do you reckon?
I nearly
Right.
spit out some cupcake.
What do you reckon?
that was good.
That was good.
Thank you. Oh, she interrupted.
Listen, so when people ask me for a joke, right, I can't really like.
If I put you on the spot.
I'll get on the spot and I can't even think of a joke, right?
Your
But
life.
there's always one that sticks. But we don't know if it's a joke, do we? Or it could be true.
I think it's true.
But I used to play the triangle in a reggae band. But I left because it was just one thing after the other. Sorry.
Sorry. But the question is it true?
Oh, it's got to be.
Yeah.
I like reggae music.
He loves reggae music.
And do you like playing the triangle as well?
It's the only thing I can play. I'm not very creative. This is incredible. It's got caramel inside it.
This is delicious. I can't believe you got us cake.
It's really good.
What
It's
a-
incredible, isn't it?
yeah.
Well, again, thanks so much, guys. We've been on the podcast. Hope you've had some fun. I've asked you at such good timing with a cake full of mouth. But
It's
thank
been
you.
so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm having a wonderful time.
Is this ASMR?
Yeah.
I dropped cake down myself.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
It's all.
Is it
Thank
in-
you very much.
Is it in mum's stuff? The flavour saver. Thank you, Fisher. Love you. Oh.
We can push
What a
some
banger.
mics away now.
I've got cake on my mic.
I think I've got
Have you
a little bit.
actually?
No, I think I've got a little bit of icing on mine. My
Don't tell
finger
Bam.
tapped it.
Don't tell Bam.